Yes, we are trying to learn about Gen Z. But Gen Z juga mesti ingat dong. Your boss itu Gen Y and Gen X. So you also need to understand the way they think. Jadi it's two-way thing. We should understand them, and they should understand their supervisors or managers who probably happen to be a Gen X or millennial. So it's a two-way communication. So I think it's very important to enrich yourself.
Sobat Dunia Pro, selamat datang di Dunia Pro, podcast pertama di Indonesia untuk profesional dan eksekutif. Hari ini kita kedatangan tamu istimewa, sahabat saya, Bathara Sianturi, seorang banker senior yang saat ini bekerja sebagai Senior Country Officer atau Country Head untuk Citibank Indonesia dan sudah berkarir dengan Bank Global ini selama kurang lebih 37 tahun. Selamat datang, Bro Bathara, apa kabar?
Selamat sore.
Kita kenal udah lama ya, Bro.
Iya.
Iya, thank you loh datang ke sini.
Sama-sama.
Ya, to our humble studio. Ya. Enggak, gue tuh tertarik untuk ngomong soal apa ya, about your career sebenarnya gitu. Karena what I find that you are the embodiment of longevity. Jadi orang yang karirnya panjang, sukses gitu ya, di banyak negara juga gitu loh. Kiatnya apa, Bro?
Saya rasa since you mentioned tentang longevity ya, so it's a long-term planning to survive a long career. Ya, ujung-ujungnya it has to be your calling, that what you want to do or what you're doing is actually your calling. So I always believe that my calling is a banker, and if your calling is to be a banker, then of course you will enjoy the banking career. And so kalau itu bukan callingnya ya tentu nggak bakalan lama, ya kan? Jadi first things first is know your calling. And if that happens to be, your right calling, in my case as a banker, then you will enjoy a long career, in that sector. Gitu.
Okay. Tapi banking juga, based on my observation, itu kan termasuk industri yang sangat kompetitif.
Yes.
Perubahan teknologi, terus orang yang masuk itu juga banyak adalah orang-orang yang bagus lah, orang-orang pilihan gitu ya. How do you maintain yourself employable at top level ya gitu. Kalau kita bicara mengenai level middle management mungkin ya banyak lah gitu. Tapi untuk bisa sampai ke atas terus stay employable gitu ya, bekerja di 3 negara, 4 negara termasuk Indonesia berarti kalau gitu. How do you sustain that gitu?
So 37 years ago I joined Citi sebagai management trainee. And actually, my first job is in audit. Then again, to get a sense how you're not gonna get bored, ya kan? Dari audit pindah ke operation pindah ke finance. Dari finance dikasih kesempatan pergi ke Citi Australia. Ya, itu tahun 95-96 to run mortgage business. Ya. Kemudian pulang ke Indonesia running branch banking. Udah gitu pindah retail banking, kemudian ke marketing. Dan 2005 saya berangkat ke Hongari, running consumer bank. 2 tahun kemudian 2007 I become the country head, the first in Citi and for an Indonesian to take that helm. That means consumer banking plus institutional banking. And since 2007 it's been mostly institutional banking, of course as a country head di Hongari, di Filipina, kemudian di Indonesia. But the key is to continue to add value. What is your value as a branch manager? What is your value when you are in finance? What is your value when you are in operations? What is your value when you run a consumer bank in Hungary, or to become a country head in Hungary, or become a country head in Philippines, and like in Indonesia dari 2015. So the key word will be you have to have value addition. What will you bring to the table for the company? Because the company is not a non-profit organization, right? It happens to be a very commercial institution. So it's very important kita itu punya nilai tambah gitu. Sehingga they say, okay, his value is his technical skills. His value is his leadership management. His value adalah his international exposure. Pernah di Hungary, pernah di Australia, pernah di Philippines. So find that value addition. Sehingga they say, okay, this person adds value or brings value to the table. So the key is to continue, having value to your organization. Sehingga you continue to be somebody who is valued by the organization.
Oke. Gue mau bedah sedikit mengenai your career waktu di Hungary ya. Maksudnya Asian ya dari Indonesia tiba-tiba datang ke Eropa gitu loh, Eropa Timur ya gitu ya. Terus Europeans being Europeans, I'm sure pasti they're not lacking of talents. Orang yang mau kerja di sana segala macam gitu loh. Itu bagaimana caranya? How did you actually won the trust to become the country head for Hungary? Terus setelah itu kan jadi regional head juga kan untuk Eropa Timur kalau nggak salah gitu kan. Terus apakah ada challenge dari mereka gitu ya? You being Indonesian gitu kan, terus kita European gitu ya dengan long tradition dan sebagainya gitu kan, a bit of European aristocracy dan sebagainya lah kurang lebih begitu. Itu gimana waktu itu, Bat?
Ya, tadi back to what is your value that you can demonstrate for Hungary, for example. The good thing is, the consumer bank in Indonesia, Citi Indonesia itu is more developed, dari consumer bank di Hungary.
Okay.
So the value addition is you bring knowledge, and you bring experience, and you bring value addition. How to grow the consumer bank in Hungary based on your experience of running a bigger, more complicated, consumer bank in Citi Indonesia.
Okay.
So sehingga we can develop that. We run the retail banking, we run the consumer bank. When I get the country head job, meaning consumer bank plus institutional, of course your value is. Of course, also your experience, in terms of what has a country like Indonesia gone through. We went through crisis. So when we had, for example, a Eurozone crisis, it reminds them, it reminds us, on some of the crises in Indonesia, it is the same playbook, right? And so, end of the day, of course, you have to adapt to the culture, because it's a different culture. But Citi being Citi, the Citi culture in Indonesia is the same with Citi culture in Hungary or anywhere else. Because that's usually multinational straight, right? That you have a brand, you have a culture, So the Citi culture is the same. The country is different. One is Indonesia, one is Hungary. Then the question is, what value will you bring to the table to develop the business? So that is always what works for like an expatriate assignment. Ya kan, saya kan juga, that is not my first one. My first assignment kan waktu itu ke Australia. Where I have to develop a mortgage business, jualan rumah-rumah KPR di Australia, tetapi pembelinya orang Asia. Zaman dulu tuh banyak dari orang Indonesia, Singapura, Hong Kong, pengen beli rumah di Perth, pengen beli rumah di Sydney. So what is the value addition? Oh, this person is running a mortgage business in Australia, tapi dia orang Indonesia. Sehingga dia punya value addition
Right.
when we sell into Indonesian market. Gitu.
Right.
So same thing when that is my assignment tahun 1995-96 di Australia. Going back to my assignment di Hongari 2005 sampai 2013. I think whether you run a consumer bank in Hungary, the country head of Hungary ataupun jadi regional head untuk Eropa Timur, ya, I think you need to continue to bring value to the table. Maybe your value to the table is your close connectivity with the headquarter. Whether it is London headquarter atau dengan New York, sehingga you can ensure that the country get the attention it deserves, to grow in that country, gitu.
Oke. Ada message nggak? Kan sekarang banyak anak-anak muda Indonesia itu kan pengen berkarir di luar negeri, kabur aja dulu gitu loh. Gimana cara mereka bisa masuk ke market seperti Europe gitu ya, atau ke Philippines gitu ya? Ada kiat-kiat mungkin atau ada pesan-pesan mungkin?
Yeah, usually if you have a global outlook, you want to work overseas. That means mobility, yeah. Of course, the easiest, the natural choice is you work with a multinational.
Yes.
Waktu kita udah masuk multinational di Citi, for example, take Citi Indonesia. Tidak semua yang bekerja di Citi Indonesia itu ingin keluar negeri. Yeah. So not everybody would like to have mobility. They said, no. I like the company, but I like Indonesia. Let me stay here. That's fine. Yeah. Tapi ada beberapa yang mempunyai aspiration untuk menjadi expatriate. Dan they have to plan their career, ya kan? Bisa kerja di negara lain, umpamanya mau kerja di Singapura atau mau bekerja di Malaysia atau bekerja di Europe or in the US, or they want to work in a big regional office. We have regional office in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in London, for example, or of course in New York. So there's a lot of career choice. So they need to plan ahead. You talk about career longevity. Then everybody has their own personal situation. Masih single atau udah punya keluarga. Because mobility has different dynamics gitu. Waktu saya berangkat tahun 2005 itu kan ya 1 istri dan 3 anak. Ya kan, anak saya nomor 1 masih 14 tahun, yang nomor 2 8 tahun, yang nomor 3 7 tahun. So I carry them sama-sama dengan istri ya to adapt to a new environment. Jadi bukan saya saja yang adapt, the whole family must be happy about it. If you are single, of course, the situation is a bit easier mungkin, ya kan, because you're still single and then you can be more mobile, without too much consideration of your family. Gitu.
Istri juga harus happy ya.
Of course.
Happy wife is a happy life kalau di luar negeri kan.
Kan kita kerja di kantor dari jam 9 sampai jam 7 malam.
Yeah.
Then during those times, your family is doing their thing. Mungkin the kids are busy in the international school. The wife masih happy, ya kan? And it's a new environment. So bottom line is support daripada family itu, dari keluarga itu sangat penting gitu. If you are determined to pursue a mobility and a career as an expatriate.
Yang lo rasain ya setelah kerja di 3 negara, pulang ke Indonesia apa bro yang berubah? Mindsetnya apa yang berubah?
I think what we want to bring is, best practices. Indonesia kan a big country. Indonesia is a G20 country. Bigger than any ASEAN countries. So what we can, always contribute in multinational business is, what are the key best practice yang sudah dilakukan di Citi Network 90 negara that we can replicate fast. Ya, jadi istilahnya apa? Ada nggak inisiatif in markets, inisiatif in corporate bank, inisiatif in syndication, capital market, umpamanya dari dari Singapore, dari Hong Kong, dari Brazil, dari big country like the UK, that we can replicate. That is actually the strength of the multinational business. Coming back, to Indonesia, dan sudah banyak juga yang melakukan ini. Then since you've been exposed for quite a while di luar negeri, you bring value to the table of your international outlook to complement the team here, So antara your international outlook dan domestic outlook itu, then that bring a blend and a better operation outlook for the company and for the country.
Okay. I'm sure you have a long list of to-do list every day. Gimana cara milah-milahnya, bro? Maksudnya dari segi mana yang urgent, mana yang priorities, mana yang less priorities gitu loh.
Ya kita itu kerja ya umpamanya dari jam 9 sampai jam 7 malam ya. Then it goes back to your time management, ya kan? Dulu kan kalau basic time management ya kita lihat kita mesti pilah-pilah nih. Ya mana yang urgent important, urgent not important, not urgent important, not urgent not important, ya kan? Yeah, so of course you look at your urgent and important. You have to take that first. Ya udah timeline-nya udah mendesak nih, ya kan? Dan kemudian sometimes you have to take urgent tapi nggak important sebetulnya. Not important for you, tapi maybe it's important for the regulator.
Okay.
Ya kan?
Okay.
Atau important for your boss, ya kan?
Okay.
Sometimes that also should be prioritized, ya kan?
Sure.
Yeah, it's urgent.
Yeah.
It's not important untuk your situation, but that information is needed. Untuk when they are doing some analysis. Okay, then that takes precedence. The next one nih yang adalah important tapi not urgent. This is the tricky one. Because if you keep on delaying important tapi not urgent, then it becomes important and urgent gitu. Jadi this delaying of important but not urgent, this is where I think you have to have a skill. Should I do it alone? Should I delegate? Should I work with the team? And then which team will do that? And of course, yang not important, not urgent, ya delegate lah to somebody else. So I think time management is going to be very, very important. You only have a fixed amount of time at the office. Of course, you can work beyond the office, but how to manage this urgent, important classification is very, very important for you. And there's a lot of tools, to help you. Umpamanya, your email you can color code, ya kan? You color code 20 orang. Email dari 20 orang ini I will answer within 1 hour.
Okay.
Atau within the same day.
Okay.
Because I have determined yang 20 orang ini, our seniors, our key people itu ya deserves quick attention gitu. So there's a lot of tools now with the sophistication of app, with the sophistication of technology that will help you to be more efficient gitu.
Okay. Sebagai CEO, what keeps you occupied on a day-to-day basis, bro?
I think is you are occupied with your planning every year. Banking is a very regulated sector. You have to submit a plan to your regional office. You have to submit the plan to your regulator. And they have milestones. They have deadlines. And by experience, you know which one deserves a key attention. Because if, for example, if there is an important deal to do, if that deal is not happening in the first semester, you know that there is a possibility of delay. Then you will not meet your revenue from that deal. You know? So it's very, very important to focus on your planning because unfortunately or fortunately, publicly listed companies release earnings every quarter. So we become very, very, very disciplined. Not only meeting our annual commitment, but meeting your quarterly commitment,
Okay.
because the company release earnings every quarter.
Yeah.
So it becomes like I'm not saying that we become myopic, but that's the nature of the business. Publicly listed, release earnings every quarter. So sometimes our long term is every quarter. Then after quarter, what do? You have a monthly thing to do. So I think the environment, the sector, really demand a discipline, and execution. Planning is great, vision is great, but what makes the difference is execution. Because that is where that makes a big difference between an A+ team and a mediocre team. It's the execution.
Yep, agree. Yeah. Bro, kalau kita bicara mengenai CEO position ya kan, gue sering baca gitu ya bahwa main priority untuk CEO itu adalah about people gitu loh. Dalam konteks Citi, a very established organization yang human resources development and managementnya sudah sangat sophisticated lah gitu ya. Your role apa bro when it comes to people?
We are, especially if the position like me as a country head, of course, I always say that there is no Citibank without the bankers, right? You can have the most sophisticated plan, but somebody need to do it. We cannot do it alone. You need a team. You need a very solid team to execute. You need a very strong first layer, strong second layer, to make sure that the execution from the top to the bottom, and then of course that the bottom to the top, are seamless. So investing time in developing people is very, very important. I like my team. They are very solid. They have solid technical, but also they have experience. Istilahnya jam terbangnya udah mumpuni.
Yeah.
Very important. Karena banking is can be a very complicated business. Dengan banyak sekali stakeholders. Dulu kan when we took MBA 35 years ago kan gampang. We only have shareholders to satisfy. You open an MBA book di tahun 2000-an. The objective of a company is to maximize shareholders' return. But now we are in the age of stakeholders. You have to satisfy the shareholder, the regulator, the media, NGOs. It's very complicated, right? You have voice of client, you have voice of employee, right? And of course, the voice of shareholder is your bottom line. So investing is in people, whether you invest them for them to be your successor or to be your follower or to be your, you develop leaders. So people can develop, a leader can develop leader, leader can develop follower, and a leader can develop successor. So that is very, very important to make sure that the organization is sustainable. Ada yang ngerjain gitu. The plan is easy. It's I think in the age of AI, you can bring a sophisticated plan. Consultant can write your plan. The key is who is gonna deliver and execute the plan, right? That's the people. So that's why I said there's no Citibank without the Citibankers. The biggest difference is the bankers. Ya. Dulu kita sering bilang the city never sleeps,
Hmm.
but the bankers sleep. Because we need to be fresh, we need to be energized, meet our clients, meet the regulator, meet the shareholder, right? The city never sleeps, but the city bankers, they sleep well, making sure that every day is a good day. So.
Yang menarik dari observasi gue nih ya, dari luar gitu kan, you always, mungkin bukan always ya, tapi from time to time, you manage to attract ex-Citibankers untuk balik kerja di Citibank lagi. Apa sih yang spesial sampai mereka balik?
I think some of them, and it varies, ada yang the way, ada yang Gen X, millennial, or now Gen Z, how they view career. Kan? Ada yang mereka merasa, oke, saya sudah vice president gitu, ya. Karena person like me, when you start as a management trainee, you go to assistant manager, baru manager, baru assistant vice president, baru vice president. Then you go senior vice president, director, and managing director. So some people will say, okay, maybe my first exit untuk ini adalah VP. Let me taste the world, and then and some of them, whether they leave sebagai seorang VP atau SVP atau director or MD, once they get exposed, and then there is an opportunity coming up, and sometimes if we have to hire externally, of course, it's easier to approach young alumni, because they already know the culture, and they already know the expectation. Masuk kerja di situ itu kayak gimana? Gitu. So from time to time, we've been successful to bring back Citi alumni into the organization, and we view this as very enriching, karena they already bring their experience dari bank-bank lain itu to Citi, yang sometimes we say, apparently there's a fresh way to look at things, ya kan? Karena kadang-kadang ya kita yang like a person like me yang nggak pernah keluar, we know the Citi way, but apparently there's always new things that we can learn, whether it is in markets, whether it is in the trading, whether it is in products, or in the client management. I think there is always something that they can bring to the table. Sehingga waktu they come back, they join the senior management, they bring their ideas and they say, wow, there's something that interesting that we should explore.
Right. Agree. Yeah. Terus kalau gue lihat for so many years, Citi itu kan it's like institution yang bisa dibilang kawah candra di muka professional managers lah di Indonesia. Bukan hanya bankers, karena banyak yang end up bukan jadi bankers juga, ke other industry juga gitu loh. Bagaimana caranya Indonesian corporates gitu ya bisa adopting gitu ya some of the values, some of the people development strategy, some of the curriculum dan lain sebagainya gitu loh. Apa sih yang bisa dilakukan supaya kita bisa punya lebih banyak lagi multinational corporations?
I think the most important thing is the culture. Yeah, people sometimes feel, I understand culture. So sometimes I say, do you understand culture? The word seems easy, but I think the culture-nya Citibank atau Citi nggak sama dengan culture-nya HSBC, nggak sama dengan culture-nya Deutsche Bank. Of course, nggak sama dengan culture-nya atau culture di Pertamina nggak sama dengan culture di PLN. Tidak sama di antara bank satu dan yang lain. Atau culture di Unilever nggak sama dengan culture di L'Oreal. So I think the company needs to really ensure that they understand this culture. And we get a feel of culture umpamanya, oh kita akan hire somebody dari bank ini. We know. Bank ini, bank yang kita akan ambil orangnya itu atau will join, they have this unique culture. Mungkin culture-nya risk taking-nya lebih tinggi, atau dia very very good in trading, or dia very very good in structuring, you know. So, you know, sharpening the culture of the company is very very important. You know, jangan sampai culture itu didrive oleh individu. It should be an institutionalized culture. Jangan nanti ganti CEO, ganti culture gitu. Ya kan? So, once you have that culture, then live with that culture and fine-tune the culture with the market and the market environment. Right? Jangan sampai the market is moving to AI, you continue a culture of non-AI. You know, marketnya udah move to into artificial intelligence, outsourcing, you know, and collaboration, and you still don't fine tune your culture. So keep your culture, but keep it as a living document. You know that will survive the market environment. You know, Citi can talk like this because we went through a lot, right? So we know, you know, how to adjust our culture and to be nimble, you know, to respond to the market environment. So I think we know that each company to have has a different culture, and it is up to that company to really fine tune that culture to be able to survive the competitive environment. You know, jangan culture-nya static. It should be dynamic. It should be in tune with the market environment. Then they know, okay, kalau culture-nya Citi, I think are very professional, you know, they work very hard, you know, and they like winning, right? But there is meritocracy, you know, so, and it's very institutionalized. Jadi tidak tergantung dari satu person. Because we have seen this, yeah. People come and go, yeah, but the culture remains, gitu. Jadi bukan karena the person leaves then the whole culture collapse. Gitu. So it is a very institutionalized culture.
Okay. Pertanyaan personal nih.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that people do not know about Bahtara from personal life point of view?
Oh, I have some hobby. You know, I like music. Ya mungkin lebih suka dengerin jazz, nggak yang berat-berat banget gitu ya. I play a little bit piano, ya kan. And in my spare time sometimes I play, you know, the music that I like, ya kan. And then of course
Musik apaan selain jazz, bro?
I think mostly
Kayaknya dengerin progresif juga deh kayaknya.
That is during waktu SMA. Yeah. SMA, you listen to like Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ya kan, Triumvirat, you know, Exceptions. It's a bit progressive rock, ya kan.
Yeah.
Tapi kan kalau kita udah
The old Genesis gitu ya.
Ya, Genesis. Ya, pas kita udah masuk ini kita udah lain lah. Kuping ini juga udah agak nggak bisa dengar-dengar yang berat-berat.
Yeah. Lebih mellow ya.
Lebih mellow.
Yeah.
You mellow down a bit. And then you do some sports.
Okay.
Yeah. I walk.
Okay.
Dulu I run a lot, but then I prefer now walking, yoga, and of course weightlifting.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I do intermittent fasting.
Okay.
For the past 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, just to, I think we talked at the beginning of the program about career longevity, right?
Yeah. You
have to maintain your health.
Yeah.
It's a marathon.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Manage what you eat.
Yeah.
You know, and then manage your sleep, right? Jangan nggak jadi nggak tidur ya. Kan?
Yeah.
But then from what you sleep, with your diet, your healthy things, then those are the things that I think integrated into your corporate life. Gitu.
Yeah.
Make it a habit.
Yeah.
You know, once it is a habit, then it's easier.
Yeah.
Gitu.
Yeah. But you also have side activities, yeah. You're the chairman of the Sianturi family, right? Yeah. Itu populasinya lumayan besar juga ya, kalau nggak salah ya. Dan cukup istilahnya cukup menyibukkan juga. Tuh. Apa goalnya apa di balik itu, bro?
Ya saya lihat banyak teman-teman ya mereka kan corporate, ya dia corporate people. At some point they do something else. Ya, usually sudah pensiun, ya kan. Ada yang larinya ke education ngajar, jadi profesor. Ada yang filantropi, ya kan. Ada yang buka NGO, ya kan. Habitat for Humanity. Some of our city bankers are very alumni, are very heavy on that one. So waktu saya balik 2015, ya. And I never plan about this. Saya kan orang Batak ya, marga saya kan Sianturi. So I start getting involved in urusan istilahnya perkumpulan. Itu perkumpulannya Sianturi, marga Sianturi. Ya. And then I end up now ketua Sianturi Simatanyari sedunia, ya. Biar agak keren bilang sedunia, ya kebanyakan di Indonesia lah. Ya adalah Sianturi, mungkin beberapa orang di Amerika, di Singapura juga ada, di Eropa juga ada. Supaya keren kita bilang sedunia. Ya, betul kan sedunia. Ya.
Global coverage.
Global coverage, ya. So it's like a global head. Yeah. So that is what I consider as your CSR, yeah, we call it corporate social responsibility. That is actually your community responsibility. And it happened that I like to do that. Yeah. And how to, bagaimana memajukan marga saya gitu. Ya kan? Supaya mereka lebih upgraded in terms of the way they organize, ya, sehingga kita bikin perkumpulan ini sekarang udah ada DPP-nya di Jakarta, kemudian udah ada DPD Jakarta, DPD Bekasi, DPD Sumatera Utara, DPD Tapanuli Raya, gitu ya. Lampung. So it provides connectivity dari marga Sianturi Simatanyari gitu. And it's an eye opener, you know, things that you don't learn in corporate world, you know, that things that there is no exact formula. Yang umpamanya contoh kita bulan lalu beberapa saudara-saudara kita dengar, di Tapanuli Tengah yang mereka terkena bencana, musibah, ya kan? Waduh. Sehingga kebetulan di situ udah ada yang namanya ya untuk DPD-nya untuk Tapanuli Tengah, ya. Dan we work dengan DPD tersebut, ya, dari DPP pusat dan beberapa DPD ya kita kumpulkan, ya sekitar 44 juta untuk 27 KK, nggak banyak, ya tambah tentu yang non financial, gitu, baju segala macam kita kirim di situ. So that's an eye opener, ya, bahwa there is things that you could do sama-sama. Doesn't matter untuk fundraising itu mau sumbang 50.000 atau mau sumbang 5 juta, ya nggak apa-apa. Ya, dan kita lihat ya itu adalah karena itu ya saudara-saudara kita marga Sianturi Simatanyari yang ada di situ yang terkena imbasannya, yang istilahnya ya masih related kepada kita gitu. Then we start seeing that organisasi ini yang kantor pusatnya ada di Jakarta bisa menolong saudara-saudara kita di Tapanuli Tengah, di Sibolga umpamanya. So it's a new experience untuk saya, how to get involved in your community responsibility. It just happen, saya ambil responsibility-nya untuk ya tolong marga saya aja gitu, ya kan? And again, just like calling, ya, if you enjoy doing it, do it. Tapi umpamanya, panggilan saya adalah untuk filantropi, do it. Oh, panggilan saya adalah untuk memajukan anak-anak yatim, do it. Ya kan, atau rumah jompo, do it. Whatever makes you happy, ya. If there is something beyond corporate world that you like to do, you do it. And if you like it, then time flies. You know, you don't feel the this is taking too much of my time. No, because you like to do it.
Yeah.
It's very important. What is your calling in corporate world? If you want to do social responsibility, community work, define what you like to do. You know, then you'll enjoy it. You know, as part of your extension of your corporate life.
Yeah, and giving makes you happy, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Giving time,
giving
money, gitu kan,
Yes.
bantuan gitu, it makes you happy.
Ya, biasanya benang merah dari pemimpin atau CEO itu adalah a lot of giving gitu. Kasih waktu, giving coaching, giving direction, you know. So the danger with that is you give so much. Yeah, you give your ideas, you give your time, you give your input, you give opinions, you give coaching, you know. And then jangan lupa nanti kalau kesedot terus, you need to also enriching yourself. Of course, you can read, you can network, you know, and learn from other people. Ya kalau nggak ntar kita kering, karena kita disedot terus, ya. And that is the nature of your work. But don't forget to enrich yourself, learn new things. You know, kita di City itu ada namanya reverse mentoring, bukan Gen X ngajarin Gen Y atau Z, tapi terbalik, Gen Z ngajarin umpamanya Gen X.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So I had a session 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Anak-anak Gen Z ini mereka bilang, so tell me something, saya bilang that I can learn. So they said, learn TikTok. I said, what is that? Ya kan? Ya buka aja TikTok, then you will learn how the Gen Z, the Gen Y behave. You can, you know, browse the stories, you know. So I open, and I think I enjoy it. Follower saya sekarang 15,000.
Nice.
Gitu.
Okay.
Then I start learning. Ternyata joke-nya mereka ini kayak begini.
Okay.
You know, then I begin to learn about them. You know, as they learn about us. Gitu.
Yeah.
Saya akan selalu bilang kepada staff saya Gen Z umpamanya ya. Saya bilang, yes, we are trying to learn about Gen Z. But Gen Z juga mesti ingat dong. Your boss itu Gen Y and Gen X. So you also need to understand the way they think. Jadi it's two-way thing. You know, we should understand them, and they should understand their supervisors or managers who probably happen to be a Gen X or millennial. You know, so it's a two-way communication. You know, so I think it's very important to enrich yourself. You know.
Yeah, interesting. One last question.
Yes.
Kalau anak-anak Gen Z, ya, mungkin mereka melihat bahwa karir itu mungkin agak berbeda dengan kita yang Gen X atau baby boomers, gitu kan ya, gitu loh. Dunia pro ini sebenarnya I started sebenarnya untuk educate bahwa hey, you can have a rewarding life by being a professional, having a longevity in career, gitu ya, and you're the embodiment of that, gitu loh. Your message apa, bro? Karena yang gue lihat sekarang itu kan ada kecenderungan ya, bukan menjelaris ya, tapi dari beberapa kasus influencer yang ditangkap, gitu kan, atau diinvestigate gara-gara jualan training program, get rich quick scheme, apapun instrumennya ya, apapun aset kelasnya gitu kan, seolah-olah bahwa sukses itu umur 30 udah punya Lamborghini gitu misalnya gitu loh. Sementara me and you come from the background, you can have a long and rewarding career, tapi juga masih happy juga, masih fulfilling juga gitu loh. What's your message to this? Yeah.
I think back to that thing that I mentioned, you have to understand your calling. Kamu ini dipanggil untuk jadi apa? Kalau callingnya itu jadi dokter, jadilah dokter yang baik. Kalau callingnya jadi insinyur, jadilah insinyur yang baik. Jangan kalau callingnya jadi dokter, maunya jadi insinyur. Ya kan? Atau callingnya sebetulnya jadi entrepreneur, tapi dia jadi orang gajian, nggak happy. Atau dia orang gajian, sebetulnya callingnya entrepreneur. Ya kan? So, first, ini biasanya prinsipnya daripada emotional intelligence. It's very simple. First, you have to know yourself. You have to know who are you, who am I. Ya kan? Oh, saya itu seorang introvert. Okay. Saya seorang extrovert. Okay. And my personality between choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, melancholic, yang 4 itu, I am 50% choleric, but I'm also 50% phlegmatic. So understanding yourself is very important. Not everybody know themselves well. Punya blind spot. Blind spot itu artinya saya nggak tahu, but everybody can see it. Ya, jadi istilahnya I think I'm the greatest guy in the world, but everybody think that I'm a loser, ya kan? Ada blind spot gitu ya. So very important is you know yourself. It's very important. Not too many people know themselves. What is my strength and what is my weakness? Yeah, coach yourself. Then after that, after you know yourself well, your limit, your talent, Anda callingnya apa, then you have to know others. This is your social thing, right? Your emotional intelligence, your social intelligence. You interact with people, gitu. And how to manage up your boss, how to manage down your staff, how to manage across your peers, your friends. Once you really master that, I know myself, and I know how to handle others, I think that's a big plus, in your emotional intelligence. Karena orang banyakan ya fokusnya ke IQ, ya kan, GPA berapa gitu ya, indeks prestasi, 4.0 dari UI, dari ITB, dari Harvard, MIT. That's good, ya. IQ is very very good. But what makes the difference when you are entering a professional world is your EQ. You have to know yourself, and then you have to know others. Ada orang yang bilangnya, kalau saya masuk Citibank, saya udah assess bahwa saya itu seorang trader, then work for markets organization. Ya, tapi ada yang bilang gitu, enggak, saya nggak ada bakat. Jadi this is stressful. I'm a risk management person. Then be a fantastic risk management person. Be a risk director, So it's very important untuk mau namanya Gen X, Y, and Z is know yourself well, and then know how to interact with others, gitu. Sehingga then if you know it, then you can improve it. Saya ini kan orangnya introvert sebetulnya, ya. Introvert dulu ya suka demam panggung kalau kasih speech, but I train myself as if that kelihatannya saya orangnya extrovert nih, ya kan? Tapi kan kalau saya pergi ke party kan, I'm not a guy yang rame gitu. Ya, I probably just stand alone there ngomong seadanya gitu. Because I'm not 100% extrovert person. But then you can train supaya your weakness itu bisa di-improve gitu. Ya kan? You cannot be everything. And then, as I said, be yourself. Jangan, I want to be you and you want to become me. Jadi mau namanya influencer segala macam, ya that is him. Istilahnya rezekinya dia lah ya.
Betul.
Bakatnya dia. I am me, I'm unique. Ya kan? I have a mission. And we have a purpose in life. And my purpose in life is not the same as your purpose in life. Because we are all created different. That's what's bring the fun, the diversity.
Right.
Jadi itu aja saya rasa, knowing yourself and knowing others.
Yep.
Then that will bring a lot of self introspection and also how to also socialize with others gitu.
Oke. Thank you, Bro Batara.
Thank you.
It's been
Terima
a
kasih.
pleasure. Terima kasih waktunya.
Terima kasih.
I'm sure the audience at home will find this inspiring.
Sama-sama.
Oke.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Sobat Dunia Pro, terima kasih. Sampai berjumpa di episode berikutnya.